There comes a moment in every empath's life when something inside them goes completely silent. Not broken, not angry, just done. Carl Jung discovered this wasn't depression or emotional exhaustion. He called it the final stage of spiritual awakening, and it terrifies everyone who witnesses it, because when an empath stops caring, they don't become cruel, they become untouchable, and that changes everything. Jung spent decades studying patients who reached this state. What he found challenges everything we think we know about empathy, spirituality, and personal transformation. The moment the empath stops caring isn't the end of their journey. It's the beginning of something far more powerful. Before we understand why empaths stop caring, we need to see what brings them to that edge. Jung documented a consistent pattern across his most sensitive patients. These weren't people who occasionally felt things deeply. These were individuals whose entire nervous system functioned as an emotional receiver for everyone around them. They walked into rooms and immediately absorbed the psychological atmosphere. Family dinners left them exhausted from managing everyone's unspoken tensions. Friendships drained them because they carried both sides of every conflict. Romantic relationships nearly destroyed them because they felt their partner's pain more intensely than their partner did. Jung called these individuals the emotional shock absorbers of their social systems. They didn't just empathize with suffering, they absorbed it, processed it, and somehow transmuted it so others could function. Parents dumped their anxiety onto them. Siblings used them as free therapists. Partners treated them like emotional support animals who existed solely to manage their moods. And here's what made Jung's observations so disturbing. These empaths never complained. They accepted this role as their purpose. They believed their sensitivity was meant to serve others, that their gift obligated them to sacrifice their own peace for everyone else's comfort. They wore their exhaustion like a badge of honor, proof they were good people who cared enough to suffer. The cultural conditioning ran deep. From childhood, they had been praised for being understanding, for making others feel better, for keeping the peace. Every time they suppressed their own needs to accommodate someone else, they received validation. Every time they absorbed someone's anger to prevent conflict, they were told they were mature beyond their years. This positive reinforcement created a pattern of self-abandonment that felt like virtue. But Jung noticed something the empaths themselves couldn't see yet. Behind their compassionate facade, their psyche was keeping records. Every manipulation, every betrayal, every moment someone took advantage of their kindness. The empath's unconscious mind wasn't just absorbing these experiences randomly. It was cataloging patterns with surgical precision. Consider someone who spent 15 years managing their family's dysfunction. They knew exactly which words would trigger their mother's guilt trips. They understood the precise emotional sequence their father used to avoid accountability. They could predict when siblings would manufacture crises to regain attention. They had mapped every psychological game being played around them with the accuracy of a cartographer charting familiar territory. But here's what Jung found most remarkable. Despite possessing this knowledge, they never weaponized it. Not once. They just kept absorbing, kept caring, kept giving until something fundamental inside of them began to crack. Their consciousness had become a detailed archive of everyone else's patterns, while their own needs remained buried under layers of service and sacrifice. This created what Jung identified as a dangerous psychological split. On the surface, the empath appeared functional, even thriving in their role as caretaker. But beneath that surface, resentment was accumulating like pressure in a sealed container. Not conscious resentment that could be expressed and released, but unconscious resentment that poisoned their sense of self. The breaking point always came from betrayal, not simple disappointment or minor conflict. Profound betrayal from someone the empath had protected, defended, and loved unconditionally. Jung documented this trigger point across dozens of cases, identifying it as the catalyst that forces shadow integration. The story repeats itself with disturbing consistency. Someone discovers their partner's infidelity after years of managing that partner's emotional instability, depression, and anxiety. The adult child learns their parent has been speaking cruelly about them behind their back after decades of serving as the family's emotional glue. The friend discovers devastating lies after years of carrying secrets and providing unconditional support. What made these betrayals so destructive wasn't just the act itself. It was the empath's sudden recognition that they had seen the warning signs all along and ignored them. Their intuition had screamed the truth for months or years, but they had silenced it. They had chosen to believe the best in someone who was showing them exactly who they were. They had betrayed themselves to maintain their fantasy of who others could become. This self-betrayal cut deeper than the external betrayal. The empath realized they had participated in their own exploitation. They had ignored their inner voice, dismissed their gut feelings, and overridden their boundaries to maintain relationships that were destroying them. The anger they felt wasn't just toward the betrayer, it was toward themselves for allowing it to continue long after they knew better. That realization shattered something fundamental, not their heart, their illusions. Jung called this the withdrawal of projections. The empath had been projecting goodness, potential, and innocence onto people who didn't possess these qualities. They had been seeing not who people were, but who the empath desperately wanted them to be. When those projections finally collapsed, the empath didn't cry or rage or fall apart the way everyone expected. Instead, something far more terrifying happened. They became quiet, unnaturally calm. Their eyes changed, not with tears, but with clarity. The fog lifted, and for the first time in their lives, they saw reality without the distortion of their desperate hope. If this message resonates with you, like the video and comment, "I am done." Jung described this moment as one of the most chilling psychological transformations he had ever witnessed in his clinical practice. The empath stopped performing emotional labor. They stopped managing other people's feelings. They stopped explaining, justifying, or apologizing for their own needs. They didn't announce these changes. They didn't make dramatic declarations. They simply stopped participating in the dysfunctional systems they had been holding together. Family members who had relied on them to mediate conflicts suddenly found themselves having to face each other directly. Partners who had used them as emotional crutches discovered they could no longer provoke the familiar reactions. Friends who had treated them as free therapists encountered boundaries where endless availability used to be. The empath had withdrawn their energy from the emotional economy that depended on their exploitation. And here's what made this transformation so disturbing to others. The empath wasn't angry. Anger would have been familiar, manageable, something others could work with or manipulate. They knew how to handle the empath's anger because it always dissolved back into forgiveness and resumed caretaking. This wasn't anger. This was complete indifference to the emotional games that used to control them. People around them tried everything to provoke the old responses. They manufactured crises. They played victim. They guilt-tripped and manipulated, but nothing worked. The empath had unplugged from the emotional matrix that once controlled them. They watched these attempts with detached curiosity, like a scientist observing predictable behavior in a laboratory setting. Jung identified this as the integration of the shadow. Every empath carries a shadow self they've been taught to deny, the part of them that's selfish, that prioritizes their own needs, that refuses to save people from themselves. Society had convinced them this shadow was evil, something to be suppressed and overcome. Religious teachings told them selflessness was virtue. Cultural narratives praised endless sacrifice. Family systems rewarded their self-abandonment. But Jung understood that this shadow wasn't evil. It was the empath's survival instinct. It was their psychological immune system trying to protect them from being consumed by others' dysfunction. When the betrayal finally forced them to integrate this shadow, they didn't become cruel. They became complete. The selfish shadow merged with the compassionate light, creating something society had never prepared for. An empath who could feel everything, but chose consciously where to direct that feeling. An empath who saw through manipulation, but no longer felt obligated to pretend they didn't. An empath who loved deeply, but only those who had earned access to that love through reciprocity and respect. This is what Jung meant by the final stage of spiritual awakening. Not transcending the ego, but integrating all aspects of the self into conscious choice. The empath had spent their entire life caring for others at their own expense. Now they were learning to care for themselves with the same intensity they had once given away so freely. This wasn't selfishness. This was self-preservation, finally being honored as sacred. The shift in energy was immediate and unmistakable. Where the empath had once radiated warmth indiscriminately, they now emanated something more selective, not coldness, but consciousness. They no longer leaked emotional energy to anyone who demanded it. Their presence felt different, grounded, impenetrable. They had become what Jung called selectively empathetic. This selectivity looked like boundaries to some and cruelty to others. The empath stopped responding to manipulative texts immediately. They let phone calls from energy vampires go to voicemail. They said no to requests that once would have guilted them into automatic yes. They stopped attending family gatherings that left them emotionally devastated. They ended friendships that had always been one-sided. They walked away from people they had spent years trying to save. But here's what outside observers missed. The empath hadn't stopped caring about these people. They had stopped caring about maintaining relationships that required them to betray themselves. They had stopped caring about being liked by people who had never truly valued them. They had stopped caring about keeping peace in systems that built on their silent suffering. The empath finally understood a truth that Jung had tried to teach for decades. You can't love others well until you love yourself first. Not the shallow self-love of narcissism, but the deep self-respect that refuses to participate in your own destruction. This was the foundation that had always been missing from their relationships. In the workplace, this transformation manifested as professional boundaries that shocked colleagues. The individual who used to absorb everyone's stress and manage office drama simply stopped. They completed their work excellently, but no longer took on others' responsibilities. They attended meetings, but no longer smoothed over conflicts that weren't theirs to fix. They remained pleasant, but impenetrable to the emotional manipulations that used to derail them. Managers who had relied on them to do three people's jobs suddenly faced someone who worked their contracted hours and nothing more. Co-workers who had dumped their problems on them encountered polite redirection to appropriate resources. The office dynamic shifted because the empath had removed themselves from the role of universal emotional dumping ground. In family systems, the changes were even more dramatic. The empath, who had always hosted holidays, mediated feuds, and absorbed everyone's dysfunction, stopped performing these functions. Not with announcements or confrontations, they simply became unavailable for the roles they had been unconsciously assigned since childhood. Parents who had treated them as emotional support discovered boundaries. Siblings who had exploited their generosity encountered limits. Extended family who had taken them for granted faced a version of the empath they didn't recognize. Someone who smiled politely but didn't engage with drama. Someone who loved from a distance rather than drowning in proximity. Someone who said, "That doesn't work for me," without explanation or apology. The family often responded with shock and accusations. "How could you be so selfish? What happened to you? You've changed." And the empath would simply nod because yes, they had changed. They had finally stopped setting themselves on fire to keep others warm. The most profound shift happened in romantic relationships. Empaths who reached this stage either transformed their partnerships completely or ended them without the usual agony. Partners who had relied on the empath's endless forgiveness suddenly faced accountability. Behaviors that had been tolerated for years were no longer acceptable. The empath stopped explaining why certain things hurt them. They simply removed themselves from situations that violated their peace. Some partners rose to meet this new version of the empath. They recognized they had been taking advantage of someone extraordinary and chose to become worthy of that person. These relationships evolved into something healthier, more balanced, built on mutual respect rather than one-sided emotional labor. Other partners couldn't adapt. They missed the version of the empath who absorbed their dysfunction, managed their emotions, and asked for nothing in return. When they tried old manipulation tactics and found them ineffective, they often left, searching for a new empath to exploit, and the awakened empath let them go without the usual pain, recognizing the departure as protection rather than loss. Jung observed that this indifference caused panic in the empath's social circle, not because the empath became mean or vindictive, but because their absence revealed how much dysfunction they had been concealing. Family systems that seemed functional fell apart without the empath holding them together. Friendships that seemed deep revealed themselves as parasitic. Workplaces that ran smoothly descended into chaos without the empath's invisible emotional labor. The people who had benefited from the empath's unconscious servitude suddenly understood what they had lost. But by then, the empath had moved beyond caring about their realization. This wasn't revenge. This was sovereignty. The empath had finally learned that their gift wasn't meant to be given to everyone, but protected and shared only with those who valued it. Jung called this state psychologically invincible, not because nothing could hurt the empath anymore, but because they had integrated their capacity to feel everything with the wisdom to choose their responses. They could still sense others' pain, read emotional atmospheres, and perceive unspoken truths. But these perceptions no longer controlled them. They had become the conscious director of their own empathy rather than its unconscious slave. This is where Jung's research revealed something beautiful and terrifying. These awakened empaths developed abilities that made them nearly impossible to manipulate. They could identify narcissists within minutes of meeting them. They recognized love bombing, future faking, and gaslighting before these tactics could take root. They sensed inauthentic energy and simply didn't engage with it. Their integrated consciousness functioned as an early warning system that protected them automatically. But they didn't use these abilities destructively. They could have weaponized their psychological insight to destroy everyone who had hurt them. They possessed intimate knowledge of others' vulnerabilities, fears, and weaknesses. Yet they chose not to retaliate. They simply removed toxic people from their lives and moved forward. This restraint came not from weakness, but from genuine disinterest in revenge. Jung was disturbed by this restraint, not because he wanted them to seek revenge, but because he recognized how much power they were choosing not to abuse. These empaths had become psychological masters who understood human nature at levels most people never reach. They could manipulate, control, and devastate if they chose. Instead, they used their power to protect their peace and help others who were ready to grow. This selective application of their gifts created what Jung called the empath's mirror effect. Their mere presence made inauthentic people uncomfortable. Manipulators felt exposed without the empath saying a word. Energy vampires sensed they couldn't feed and moved on to easier targets. Meanwhile, authentic people felt safe around the awakened empath for the first time, recognizing someone who saw them clearly without judgment. The awakened empath became a living filter. Their consciousness automatically repelled dysfunction and attracted growth. They didn't have to actively vet people anymore. Their integrated presence did it naturally. Those who couldn't handle their clarity removed themselves. Those who valued authentic connection moved closer. The empath's social circle transformed completely without deliberate effort. Jung documented how these empaths rebuilt their lives on completely different foundations. They chose careers that honored their sensitivity rather than exploited it. Some became therapists who could hold space without absorbing clients' pain. Others became artists who channeled their perception into creation. Many found work that allowed solitude and autonomy, protecting their energy from constant depletion. They created friend groups based on reciprocity rather than rescue dynamics. Every relationship became a conscious choice rather than an unconscious obligation. They entered romantic relationships as whole people rather than as fixers or saviors. They chose partners who valued their peace as much as they did, who understood that love doesn't require suffering. Everything changed because they had finally learned to value themselves as much as they valued others. Their homes became sanctuaries instead of open hospitals. Their time became precious instead of infinitely available. Their energy became sacred instead of carelessly distributed. They understood that protecting their inner peace wasn't selfish. It was necessary for their survival and essential for their contribution to the world. This is the moment stopping caring about others' dysfunction became the moment of finally caring for their own soul. The ultimate act of self-love. Not narcissism or selfishness, but the recognition that their empathy was a gift that deserved protection, boundaries, and conscious direction. They had learned what Jung tried to teach all his patients. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and martyrdom serves no one. Jung understood this transformation as the birth of a sovereign individual, someone who had moved through unconscious empathy, through betrayal and breaking, through shadow integration, and emerged as a conscious chooser of their own reality. They no longer reacted to others' emotional demands. They responded from a place of integrated wholeness. Every action became intentional rather than reactive. The empath who stops caring hasn't lost their humanity. They've found their power. They haven't become cold. They've become conscious. They haven't stopped loving. They've learned to love themselves with the same fierce devotion they once gave away indiscriminately. This evolution represents the highest form of psychological development Jung identified in his work. This is why Jung called it the final stage of spiritual awakening. Not because there's nowhere left to grow, but because the empath has finally integrated the fundamental lesson. Their sensitivity is sacred, their energy is valuable, their peace is non-negotiable. And anyone who cannot respect these truths has no place in their life. This isn't cruelty, this is clarity. The awakened empath becomes what society desperately needs but rarely deserves. Someone who can feel deeply without losing themselves. Someone who can love powerfully without enabling dysfunction. Someone who can see clearly without becoming cynical. They are love with boundaries, compassion with wisdom, kindness with strength, empathy with sovereignty. This transformation isn't a loss. It's a victory. not over others, but over the conditioning that taught empaths their worth came from how much they could sacrifice. The empath who stops caring about maintaining peace in toxic systems has started caring about cultivating peace in their own soul. They've rejected the false narrative that goodness requires suffering and that love demands self-abandonment. The moment the empath stops caring isn't at the end of their story. It's the beginning of their sovereignty. And that's exactly what the world needs more of. Not empaths who sacrifice themselves endlessly, but empaths who have learned to wield their gifts consciously, powerfully, and selectively. Welcome to your awakening. You've earned this transformation through every moment you suffered in silence, and now you're finally free.
Act as if you are the best, because in this world, power never asks for permission. No one anoints the Lion King. He becomes one through presence, through unshakable conviction. That's the Machiavellian truth. Perception creates reality. People don't follow what's right. They follow what's strong. So, act as if you are untouchable. Move with the quiet confidence of someone who knows his worth and owes no explanation. The powerful don't beg for recognition. They radiate it. Every gesture, every silence, every calculated glance must command attention without a word. The weak crave validation. The strong create it. When you enter a room, your energy should tell the story before your lips move. Your posture, your tone, your stillness, all should say, I am not here to compete. I am here to conquer. Remember this, the world bends to certainty. Doubt is the scent of prey. If you want to dominate, you must believe your supremacy into existence. Never apologize for your greatness. Own it, embody it, breathe it. Because the moment you do, others will follow your lead, willingly or not. Comment below. I am the one they cannot replace. Number 2, the psychology of superiority. Superiority begins in the mind, long before it manifests in the world. The greatest men in history didn't rise because they were chosen. They rose because they chose themselves. Understand this. People obey confidence the way iron obeys a magnet. They are drawn to strength, to certainty, to presence that doesn't flinch. When you move like you already own the throne, others unconsciously adjust to that reality. It's dark psychology, the art of planting authority into the minds of those around you. Your energy must carry a simple message. I am inevitable. You must become a mirror that reflects dominance. When they look at you, they should see someone who doesn't doubt, doesn't hesitate, doesn't seek approval. You are the storm they can't predict and the silence they can't ignore. Machiavelli said it best. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Fear is not cruelty, it's control. It's the understanding that to maintain respect, you must never be too accessible. The powerful create distance. They remain unpredictable. Mystery fuels fascination, and fascination feeds influence. The moment they think they fully understand you, they'll stop respecting you. So give them just enough to admire, but never enough to grasp. Stay one step ahead, always. Your power lies in what they don't know about you. To act superior is not arrogance, it's strategy. Arrogance screams insecurity. Superiority radiates. It's not loud, it's not boastful. It's calm, deliberate, dangerous. The superior man does not chase validation. He generates it from within. When you walk as if the ground itself is honored to feel your steps. When you speak, your words weigh more than gold because you speak with conviction, not noise. You don't react, you calculate. You don't explain, you command. That's how you become untouchable, by mastering your own psychology before the world even realizes you've done it. Now type it in the comments, engrave it into your mind. I am inevitable. Number 3, the power of detachment. Detachment, that's the crown jewel of power. The moment you learn to feel everything yet be owned by nothing, you ascend beyond the masses. Most people are slaves to emotion. They react, they overthink, They chase validation like addicts chasing their next dose. But the superior man, the Machiavellian man, he controls emotion as a weapon, not as a weakness. He feels anger, but he doesn't show it. He feels desire, but he doesn't chase it. He feels pain, but he turns it into calculation. This is where your transformation begins, when you learn to move like a shadow with a pulse, detached, calm, and unpredictable. The detached man is dangerous because he cannot be manipulated. You cannot control what you cannot move. Machiavelli taught that power belongs to those who can separate their feelings from their objectives. Compassion without strategy is weakness. Love without limits becomes leverage for others to use against you. To master detachment, you must stop fighting for peace and become it. When you detach, you stop reacting. You start observing. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start thinking, what does this reveal about their weakness? You stop being the hunted and become the hunter. In every interaction, your goal is not emotional satisfaction, it's leverage. And when you no longer need anything from anyone, not their attention, not their approval, not even their affection, that's when they start giving it to you. People are addicted to those who don't need them. It's a paradox that drives the world. Detachment makes you magnetic. You become the calm in chaos, the eye of the storm everyone orbits around. When you master your emotions, you master perception, and perception is the battlefield of power. So train your mind to remain still when others panic. Let them drown in their impulses while you rise in silence. You are the mountain, unshaken by wind, untouched by storms. Now write it below. Let it burn into your identity. I own my emotions. Nothing owns me. Number 4, control the game, never play it. Power is not won by the loudest voice or the fastest move. It's earned by the one who controls the board while pretending to merely play. The Machiavellian mind understands this simple truth. People who chase power rarely keep it, but those who make others chase them, those are the ones who rule. Every move you make must be deliberate, strategic, and disguised behind the illusion of effortlessness. The moment they think they understand your strategy, change it. The moment they expect your reaction, give them silence. Power thrives in unpredictability. You must become the ghost in the game, always present, never predictable. When you control the game, you manipulate perception, and perception is reality. Let others believe they're in control, while their choices, emotions, and outcomes bend subtly to your design. That is the essence of dark psychology, quiet influence, invisible strings. You don't force obedience, you invite it. You don't demand loyalty, you engineer it. You create an environment where people want to serve your interests because it aligns with their desires. That's the highest form of control, not through fear, but through psychological architecture. Machiavelli warned that those who show all their cards invite betrayal. So never reveal your full hand. Never explain your intentions until your victory is secure. Mystery keeps you safe. Transparency makes you a target. Keep them guessing. Keep them intrigued. When people cannot predict you, they cannot prepare for you. When they cannot prepare for you, they cannot defeat you. Strategy isn't about reaction. It's about anticipation. You must think 5 moves ahead, always. And while others fight battles you've already won in your mind, you simply watch them burn out. The key is to appear calm, composed, and detached, even when chaos erupts around you. Your silence must be louder than their words. Your restraint must terrify more than their aggression. Every move you make should serve a purpose, even your stillness. Remember this, kings don't argue, they observe, decide, and command. Never let them pull you into their drama. That's how peasants fight. Your arena is psychological, not emotional. So take this mindset and engrave it into your bones. I control the game, I never play it. Write it in the comments. Let the world know you move by strategy, not impulse. Number 5, silence, mystery, and psychological gravity. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't beg to be seen. True power is silent, a calm force that bends the world without lifting a finger. The greatest emperors, conquerors, and manipulators all understood this. Silence creates tension, and tension creates control. When you speak too often, you leak power. When you explain yourself, you expose your intentions. But when you speak rarely, when your words are chosen like weapons, people listen. Your silence becomes their obsession. They start to fill it with their own imagination, and imagination is always louder than truth. Mystery is your armor. It is the shadow that makes your presence feel infinite. When people can't define you, they fear you. They wonder what you know, what you're thinking, what you're planning, and in that wondering, they hand you control. Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, meaning perception outweighs reality. You don't have to be unstoppable. You must simply appear untouchable. Your mystery becomes a gravitational field, pulling people toward you, making them orbit your aura without understanding why. This is psychological gravity, the silent magnetism of dominance. To build it, learn restraint. Most men reveal too much because they crave connection or attention. But you must starve that instinct. You don't need to be understood. You need to be felt. You walk into a room, and your stillness says more than 1,000 words. You make eye contact like a mirror, calm, unreadable, commanding. When others speak, you listen, but you never react immediately. That pause, that moment of controlled silence, it breaks them. They start to question themselves, to fill the void with nervous talk, with weakness. You remain still, and in that stillness, you dominate. Mystery also demands contradiction. Don't be predictable. Be warm one moment, cold the next. Let people sense danger beneath your calm. Keep them intrigued, never comfortable. A man who is fully known loses power. A man who is partially understood becomes legend. Even when you show emotion, let it be deliberate. Let your anger serve purpose. Let your compassion be a calculated gift, not a reflex. The key is control, over expression, over presence, over narrative. Understand this. Silence is not absence. It is dominance without noise. It is the mind of a strategist disguised as serenity. It is the pause before the storm, the signal that you decide when chaos begins and ends. When you master this, you no longer chase attention. Attention bows to you. Now comment below, let it echo through the shadows of your will. My silence commands the room. Number 6, manipulate energy, dominate the room. When you walk into a room, understand this. Power is not a title. It's not a position. It's an energy. It's the invisible current that shifts the atmosphere the moment you enter. Most people walk in looking for approval, scanning faces, adjusting themselves to fit in. But the powerful, they make the room adjust to them. The truly dominant don't seek belonging. They redefine the environment. This is the art of energy manipulation. The ability to command attention, influence emotion, and control perception without saying a word. Your energy is your signal to the world. It tells people how to treat you before you even speak. A weak presence leaks uncertainty through posture, tone, nervous laughter, and restless eyes. But a powerful presence radiates quiet certainty. Every movement is economical, deliberate, and slow. There's no rush, no anxiety, no performance, just gravity, the kind that makes people lower their voices when you pass. Machiavelli would tell you, appear confident even when you are not. For confidence creates belief, and belief becomes reality. When you act as if you are the best, people start to treat you as if it's true, not because they know, but because they feel it. The psychology behind this is simple. Humans mirror energy. If you project calm dominance, others will unconsciously sink to your frequency. They'll soften their tone, hesitate to interrupt, and begin to defer to your unspoken authority. This is not arrogance, it's calibration. You are setting the tone. Your composure dictates the tempo of the room. Never compete for attention, absorb it. The sun doesn't fight to be seen. It simply rises, and the world must acknowledge it. To master energy, you must master stillness. Every strong presence begins with control over breath, posture, and emotion. Your breath must be slow and deep, never shallow, never rushed. Your posture must speak of ownership, not aggression. Shoulders back, spine straight, gaze steady. And your emotions must be invisible armor, not absence of feeling, but mastery of expression. Anger, excitement, or fear, all must remain beneath the surface. The man who can control his energy controls the entire room. But remember, power isn't about constant dominance. It's about rhythm. The Machiavellian manipulates the tempo, alternating between intensity and calm to destabilize others. Speak softly when they expect force. Pause when they expect answers. Smile when they expect silence. Keep them guessing. People are slaves to predictability. Break their rhythm and you own their attention. The moment you become predictable, you lose psychological ground. Surprise keeps you superior. Presence also extends beyond the physical. Your reputation, the echo of your energy, must precede you. Build an aura of quiet capability. Don't brag about your power. Let stories circulate. Let your restraint create rumors. Let your mystery create mythology. The moment you need to prove yourself, you've already lost the upper hand. The powerful never explain. They demonstrate through subtle influence, through results that speak louder than declarations. Another secret, don't match the energy in the room, control it. If the room is chaotic, stay calm. If it's tense, remain unfazed. If it's silent, let your words fall like thunder. This dissonance forces everyone else to calibrate to you. You become the center, the reference point. That's dominance. Not by aggression, but by gravitational pull. The more you can remain still in a world addicted to reaction, the more your presence becomes magnetic. And don't mistake charisma for performance. Charisma isn't charm, it's control. It's the ability to project confidence without needing applause. It's the balance of warmth and danger, approachable, but never accessible. You make people feel they can reach you, yet never touch the core of who you are. They want your approval, your attention, your energy, but you give it sparingly. That's how you build demand. That's how legends are formed. When you dominate a room, your body language should whisper authority, not scream it. Your silence should feel heavy. Your words should land like calculated strikes. Every glance should be measured, not rushed, not distracted. Look people in the eye as if you're studying their soul. Then break contact deliberately, signaling you've already understood what you needed to know. You must project the paradox of presence, calm but commanding, distant yet magnetic, silent yet unforgettable. This is the energy of kings, of conquerors, of men who bend the will of others without raising their voices. It's not about intimidation, it's about inevitability. The energy that says, I don't chase, I attract. I don't react, I dictate. You must live it, breathe it, embody it until it becomes instinct. Now, carve this into your mind and type it in the comments like a declaration of your becoming. I control the energy. I command the room. Number 7, war without weapons, the art of psychological warfare. Power doesn't always need an army. The most dangerous wars are fought without swords, without blood, fought in silence, in conversation, in perception. The battlefield is the mind, and the prize is control. Psychological warfare is the Machiavellian's true domain. It's not about brute strength, it's about subtlety, precision, and cold understanding of human nature. You win not by attacking directly, but by guiding others into traps of their own creation. That's real dominance, not by force, but by foresight. Understand this, every interaction is a negotiation for power. Every word exchanged, every gesture observed, every silence held, all are tactical weapons. Weak men fight with emotion, strong men fight with manipulation. They know when to provoke, when to flatter, when to disappear. They know how to twist perception so that even truth bends around them. Machiavelli called it the appearance of virtue. You don't need to be good, you need to look good while doing what's necessary. The world rewards perception, not purity. The first rule of psychological warfare: never reveal your intentions. Once they know what you want, they can resist. Once they can predict you, they can neutralize you. Keep them confused, intrigued, uncertain. Uncertainty breeds submission. When people can't read you, they fear disappointing you. When they don't understand your motives, they hesitate. And hesitation is your ally. Hesitation gives you control. You become the only one who seems sure, the only one who seems unshaken. And in chaos, certainty looks like leadership. The second rule: learn to weaponize empathy, not to feel it, but to use it. Understand people, their needs, fears, and insecurities better than they understand themselves. The mind that knows another's desires controls their behavior. Flattery is not empty praise, it's targeted influence. Feed people's egos strategically. Make them feel seen, but only in the way that serves your goal. Make them believe you value them, and they'll hand you their loyalty. Machiavelli said, men are driven by two things: love or fear. The master of manipulation uses both. He makes people feel safe and scared to lose that safety. The third rule: never attack directly when you can corrode silently. Direct confrontation alerts the enemy, but influence, slow, invisible influence, changes them before they notice. Spread doubt, whisper truth mixed with lies. Plant small seeds that grow into trees of confusion. When someone questions their own judgment, you have already won. The superior manipulator makes others fight themselves. They defend you, even as you dismantle them. Psychological warfare is chess, not checkers. You must see 10 moves ahead, anticipate reactions, predict emotions, and build traps that feel like choices. Offer people freedom, but make sure every path leads to your outcome. That's Machiavellian mastery, the illusion of choice under the architecture of control. You must also understand the value of silence in battle. The one who speaks first often exposes himself. The one who answers every question reveals his mind. But the one who pauses, who measures his words, he owns the rhythm. Silence makes people project. They fill it with their insecurities, their assumptions, their need for validation. And you learn everything without revealing anything. Every second of silence is a blade against their mind. Deception, too, is an art. But the best deception doesn't feel like a lie. It feels like truth they want to believe. Manipulation isn't shouting commands. It's whispering agreement. It's creating alignment that benefits you while they think it benefits them. Give people what they crave: validation, belonging, purpose, and they'll never notice you're leading them. To wage psychological war, you must master detachment, emotional neutrality. You cannot afford to react. The second you get angry, emotional, or defensive, you've surrendered your mind. The manipulator thrives on calmness. Even when you're cornered, you must appear unbothered. Because perception of control is control. You don't panic, you observe. You don't argue, you redirect. You don't fight, you guide. Another secret: never underestimate small psychological wins. A single word, a small pause, a delayed reaction. These are weapons. A well-timed compliment disarms suspicion. A sudden withdrawal breeds anxiety. A calm stare can intimidate more than a scream. People respond not to truth, but to how truth feels. Control the feeling, and you control their world. In warfare, deception must look like sincerity. If you need to manipulate, do it with elegance. Smile as you maneuver. Let kindness be your camouflage. Machiavelli wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." You must be both, strong enough to command and cunning enough to deceive. Sometimes power is showing force. Other times it's pretending weakness so they lower their guard. Feigned vulnerability is one of the sharpest tools in your arsenal. Psychological dominance also means mastering your reputation. Build a myth around your name. Let whispers of your unpredictability travel ahead of you. Reputation fights battles for you that you'll never need to enter. People fear the idea of you long before they meet you. Your silence will sound like strategy. Your unpredictability will feel like danger. They'll avoid conflict because they don't know your limits. And that's how you win wars without fighting. Remember, in every interaction, someone leads and someone follows. Someone frames reality and someone accepts it. Always be the one defining meaning, setting tone, and controlling interpretation. If someone insults you, redefine it as amusement. If they oppose you, frame them as jealous. Never let them control the story. He who controls the story controls perception, and he who controls perception controls power. So, your mission is not to fight, it's to govern perception. You will never need to raise your voice when your presence already commands obedience. You will never need to threaten when your calmness terrifies more than aggression. When you master psychological warfare, your enemies destroy themselves trying to understand you. Let this truth sink in. Power isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the one who never loses control, not of others, but of yourself. That's how you become untouchable. You don't win arguments, you win minds. You don't seek approval, you create dependence. And you never show all your power, only enough for them to feel it. Now type it in the comments like a ritual of dominance, a phrase that seals your intent. I fight with mind, not emotion. I win without war. Number 8, the Iron Code. Discipline, routine, and ruthless self-mastery. Power isn't built in moments of motivation, it's forged in monotony. The great conquerors, the silent emperors of reality, they all share one trait: ruthless discipline. Not the kind that shouts, not the kind that flexes online, but the kind that bleeds quietly behind closed doors. You see, Machiavellian strength isn't just strategy, it's structure. You cannot dominate others if you cannot first dominate yourself. Every weakness within you is a hole in your armor. Every lack of discipline is a crack in your empire. Power begins when you stop negotiating with your excuses. You want control over your life. Then wake up every day as if the world owes you nothing, because it doesn't. The weak seek comfort, the strong seek control. The difference between the two is simple. One reacts, the other decides. Discipline is the art of deciding who you'll be, every day, without hesitation. While others wait for motivation, you move from mandate. You act not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are. You become the kind of man whose habits make emotion irrelevant. Routine is your fortress. Your daily systems protect you from chaos. Every morning ritual, every night of planning, every moment of focus, these are your silent wars against weakness. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Order breeds power. When your life runs like a machine, your mind stays free to think, to plan, to strike. You don't waste energy fighting distractions. You channel it into direction. The world belongs to those who can delay gratification, those who can suffer strategically today to own tomorrow. You must treat yourself as both the ruler and the subject. Command yourself with authority. When your mind says rest, answer with earn it. When it says later, answer with now. Each time you obey weakness, you reinforce submission. But each time you conquer it, you reinforce dominance. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. It's the knowledge that nothing external can shake you because you've already conquered the internal. Power demands routine, not because routine is exciting, but because it's predictable, and predictability creates results. The man who trains daily, body, mind, and spirit, becomes untouchable. His habits turn him into a force of nature. He doesn't chase energy, he manufactures it. He doesn't rely on mood, he relies on mastery. That's the Iron Code. do what must be done, whether the fire burns or not. Self-mastery means knowing your triggers and strangling them before they control you. Cut off every weakness that slows your ascent. Too much comfort, remove it. Too much distraction, silence it. Too much validation, deny it. You don't need noise, approval, or company. You need purpose. Every distraction is an assassin disguised as pleasure. Every indulgence is a delay in your evolution. Power belongs to the man who can walk alone, who can sit in silence without needing escape, who can work relentlessly without applause. And understand this, routine is not robotic, it's strategic. Your structure must serve your mission. Your mornings are sacred ground, where warriors sharpen the mind before the day begins. Your nights are reflections of your progress, the audit of a ruler analyzing his empire. Every meal, every hour, every task must feed your power. Stop living reactively. Start living deliberately. Machiavelli would tell you, control time, or time will control you. The disciplined man is feared because he cannot be manipulated. You can't bribe him with comfort. You can't distract him with temptation. You can't move him with emotion. He's too focused on the mission to care about the noise. His eyes are fixed on empire. His steps are measured. His will is iron. That's the kind of man who bends the world. Not through luck, but through relentless consistency. So, build your discipline like an empire, one brick at a time. Every workout, every book, every cold morning you don't skip. Every temptation you silence. Each is a brick in the fortress of your dominance. While others crumble under indulgence, you rise in silence. You will look back one day and realize that the man who built you was forged in boredom, repetition, and resolve. The Machiavellian truth is brutal. The world doesn't respect desire. It respects results. Desire is cheap. Discipline is currency. The strong don't pray for power. They prepare for it. And when opportunity arrives, they're already ready, already sharpened, already unshakable. Now, write it below, not as a comment, but as a contract with your own future. My discipline is my dominion. Number 9, the laws of control, power, deception, and the psychology of influence. Control. The single word that separates kings from pawns, predators from prey. The world bows to those who control perception, emotion, and narrative. Power is never truly taken. It's given by those too blind to realize they're surrendering it. The Machiavellian man understands this deeply. He knows that true power is not about domination through force, but manipulation through finesse. The strongest rulers were not the loudest. They were the most patient, the most calculating, the most unreadable. To control others, you must first master the illusion of transparency. Let them believe they see the real you, while keeping your true motives locked away. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must appear virtuous, compassionate, loyal, honest, while being ruthless beneath the surface. Because the masses crave morality, not truth. They want to believe in heroes, not strategists. So give them their illusion. Smile when you plan. Praise when you plot. Keep your enemies close enough to study, but never close enough to strike first. Your weapon is not your strength, it's their belief in your harmlessness. Deception, when wielded with precision, becomes art. The art of making others think they're leading while they follow your design. People love control, so give them the illusion of it. Ask questions that make them feel wise, compliment their insight, let them think they've convinced you. Meanwhile, every decision bends quietly in your direction. That's the essence of influence, guiding others to your conclusion while letting them think it was theirs. The Machiavellian never demands obedience, he engineers it. The second law of control, own the frame. Every conversation, every argument, every interaction is a battle for framing reality. Whoever defines the meaning of an event owns the power. If someone insults you, redefine it. If they question you, turn it into amusement. Never defend yourself, redirect. When they attack, stay calm. Let their emotion expose them. The more reactive they become, the more composed you appear. And in that contrast, the room decides who's truly dominant. Frame every moment as though you've already won. That's psychological command. Control also requires strategic emotion. The Machiavellian doesn't eliminate emotion, he weaponizes it. A flash of controlled anger can freeze a room. A single act of unexpected kindness can bind loyalty stronger than fear. You must understand emotion like a surgeon understands anatomy. Every reaction, every insecurity, every ego wound. Use empathy as your compass, not your cage. Know what people crave: validation, status, belonging, and use those cravings to build invisible chains. You never tell them what to do, you make them want to do it. And then there's fear, the most misunderstood tool of power. Fear doesn't mean cruelty, it means respect enforced through unpredictability. The powerful man doesn't need to threaten, his silence is enough. The uncertainty of what you might do keeps people compliant. Never be fully predictable, never be fully accessible. Familiarity breeds weakness. Distance breeds intrigue. Make your presence scarce but impactful. When you appear, the air should shift. When you speak, words should feel deliberate, like judgment. Machiavelli once wrote that the wise ruler must learn how not to be good, not evil, but strategic. Because morality without strategy is suicide in a world ruled by perception. To control others, you must sometimes play roles. The saint, the ally, the fool, all masks worn by the same calculating mind. Be flexible, be fluid. The oak tree breaks in the storm. The serpent survives because it bends, it adapts, it strikes only when the time is right. The third law of control: never react to disrespect. Weak men crave reaction. Strong men convert insult into silence. Every time you respond emotionally, you confirm their power over your mood. Every time you remain indifferent, you destroy their influence. Remember, reaction is currency. Never spend it cheaply. Influence is the highest form of dominance because it doesn't require force. It doesn't scream. It whispers. When you master influence, people fight your battles for you. They defend you, they mimic you, they serve your purpose, believing it's their choice. That's not luck, that's psychological engineering. So write it below, the declaration of your ascent into mastery. I control my world. Nothing moves without my design. Number 10, the final ascension, becoming untouchable. Untouchable. That's the final evolution, the state beyond doubt, beyond comparison, beyond reach. When you master yourself, your emotions, your presence, and your strategy, you no longer chase power, you become it. This is where all the Machiavellian laws converge: control, detachment, mystery, and relentless discipline. The untouchable man doesn't need validation, doesn't need recognition, doesn't need approval. He stands alone, carved from fire and silence. He knows his worth because he built it, brick by brutal brick. To become untouchable, you must first kill your dependence on everything external. Opinions, praise, relationships, distractions. All of them are chains. Every time you need something from the world, you hand it leverage over you, so take it back. Starve the world of your dependence. The one who needs nothing cannot be threatened. When they try to manipulate you, they'll fail, because your happiness isn't for sale. When they try to intimidate you, they'll realize fear doesn't live in your mind. You've burned weakness out of your system through trial, silence, and sacrifice. That's the true throne, the empire of inner control. The untouchable man doesn't seek to prove himself. He simply exists as proof. His energy does the speaking. His actions echo louder than words. He walks into a room not to impress, but to dominate reality through composure. He carries stillness like armor, power like gravity. His gaze, his posture, his aura, all communicate one thing: I am inevitable. People sense it before he speaks. They respect it without understanding why. Because deep down, they recognize what they never had: absolute self-command. Machiavelli would say, a prince must learn to act according to necessity. The untouchable lives by that creed. He does what must be done, not what feels good, not what looks moral, what's necessary. He moves through the world like a strategist, never emotional, always calculating. His compassion is controlled, his anger is disciplined, and his choices are final. That's why he wins where others waver. He doesn't need to be liked, he needs to be effective. Understand this, being untouchable doesn't mean isolation, it means independence. You can walk among people, but you are not of them. You can lead, but never depend. You can love, but never kneel. You are both present and distant, engaged but detached. A paradox they can never decode. That's what keeps you powerful. They will try to imitate you, but imitation always falls short of authenticity. You are the blueprint they can't replicate. So rise now, not as a follower, not as a dreamer, but as the embodiment of controlled power. You've learned the art of silence, the precision of manipulation, the discipline of kings. You are no longer chasing the crown, you are the crown. Type it below for the last time. Seal your transformation in words that echo through every listener who dares to awaken. I am untouchable.